There's a huge process that goes into just making that particular call if we're going to have school or not.
The problem comes when the pavement temperature potentially drops below 32 degrees. There's always the potential for it being slippery, so please slow down.
These folks are here 365 days a year. It needs to be a 365-day-a-year conversation.
A battery is different at 50 degrees than it is at minus 20. When the temperatures get below 32 degrees, you run the risk of that coolant turning to ice.
Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you look like me, you can be a significant and meaningful contributor to the policy and electoral decisions that are made in the Commonwealth.
It means a lot. Definitely everybody who's come from before me and the people I've trained with I've looked up to. And so to continue the tradition of being a D1 athlete for the Lakeside Seahawks, it's awesome.
Morning, folks. Thank you for waking up with us. That snow came throughout the area last night, breaking some records this morning. We have everything you need to know before you head out of the door.
Yeah, we have team coverage this morning. We have Brooke tracking road conditions in our weather beast, and Rob is looking at how schools are affected. But first, we want to start with meteorologist Caitlin Fish, who's tracking this bitter, bitter cold.
Yeah, we had a lot of cold air move in behind that cold front. So cold, in fact, that we could break a record for our coldest November 12th ever today. I know, very chilly when you step out the door. Here's a look at those weather headlines for today. We might set a record for our high temperature today being so cold, as well as our overnight low temperatures. The good news, if you're not really excited about the snow, we're not expecting any more today. Just a couple stray flurries out there this morning. Temperatures are gradually going to warm up as we head towards the end of the week, but it is a slow warm up. It's not going to happen very quickly. Now here's a look at some of our snow totals from yesterday, anywhere from about 1 to 2 inches in some spots. Not too bad for our first official measurable snowfall of the season. We got right about an inch here at Louisville International. It was about 9/10 of an inch, so almost hitting that 1 inch mark. Here's a look at what's going on Max HG radar and satellite. Cloud cover pushing off to the south and east. That snow well off to our south and east. Not expecting any more of that today. We're just going to see some chilly high pressure, and what that means for us, it is going to see a little bit of sunshine as we head into the afternoon. Current temperatures, teens and 20s. Notice that northwest breeze keeping us very cool this morning. 24 in Louisville, feels much colder than that. Feels like 11. And our teens over here in southern Indiana, feels like 3 in Jasper right now. Feels like 5 in Paoli. Feels like 10 in Scottsburg. You definitely need a few extra layers today. The hat, the gloves, and maybe even some hand warmers for the kiddos heading out to the bus stop. Here's a look at that forecast for the rest of the day. Just mid-20s through lunchtime, 29 for your afternoon high. That would certainly break a record of 32 that we have seen in previous years. And while it is going to be cold heading into this afternoon, staying pretty chilly for the rest of the week, we'll talk more about that coming up in your full forecast in just a few minutes. For now, let's get a check on your roadways. As we take a look at our mobile traffic tracker, things are looking pretty good out there. We're going to check in with Brooke in our storm team weather vehicle in just a moment. She'll get you some road condition updates, but we don't have any reports of icing, just one disabled vehicle here out on the Greenbelt Highway at Riverport Drive. Checking in on some of our cameras, here's I-65 at Crittenden, looks just fine there in both directions. I-64 at Blankenbaker, easy going both east and west on 64. And here's 265 at 71. Yeah, you can see the snow in the median, but none on the roadways. Those should be dry thanks to a strong breeze overnight, drying things out. Drive times 265 into downtown, still in the green. Now we want to send things out to Brooke.
All right, Caitlin, so we actually just made our way through Oldham County right now at that first rest stop just outside the Snyder. Giving you a quick look, this is where we had a lot more snow actually than the metro area. If you take a look, you can see maybe a little bit more than an inch, closer to 2 in some areas. But again, the roads looking pretty fine. You're seeing the snow that's covering the ground as far as the grass is concerned. But out on those sidewalks, the parking lots, and I-71 for that matter, you are driving really well. No major slowdowns for you there. Everyone's kind of acting like this is not a biggie at this point. I have my driver who's from Alabama, and he said this is as much snow as he has ever seen. So he is definitely in for quite the ride in the next couple of months here in the metro and throughout Kentucky, guys. And we're going to toss things over to Rob, who's back in J-Town at one of our bus compounds for JCPS, kind of keeping track of how the schools are handling this.
Yeah, hey Brooke, I gotta say Jake's from Alabama. He thinks this is crazy snow. I grew up in Colorado. This is nothing. We heard from JCPS actually within the last 15 minutes into our newsroom, and school's gonna be operating as normal today. So there's no cancellations, they're not starting late. They do have their bus drivers here early though to get these buses warmed up. You gotta keep in mind that buses run on diesel fuel. That takes a little bit longer to warm up on these cold days. So the mechanics are just one of the groups here that the JCPS district has been working with since the weekend to prepare for this winter weather that we're seeing today. JCPS has also been working with the National Weather Service to keep track of this snowstorm as it was coming through, also to keep track of those cold temperatures so they can keep on top of that. The main concern for the buses are, of course, the road conditions, so they had to keep on top of any icy spots that could have popped up on the roads. That means all roads, not just those main arterials, but also the side streets and the neighborhood streets as well. Now, as I just said, JCPS has made the call to have school today without delays. They try to make those calls early so that parents can make extra or different plans if need be.
We understand that, parents have to go to work and they have to find, alternative means of, getting the kids to maybe a babysitter or some kind of daycare service. So we want to make sure that we're respectful for the parents' needs as well.
Now, what does JCPS need from you this morning? They say they just want parents to be careful on the road since, even though the roads are looking pretty good today, you never know if there's a slick spot that could pop up, so you want to give yourself some extra space to stop because those buses are carrying precious cargo. And my word of advice is bundle your kids up because the wind chill out here is pretty miserable. It is really cold outside, so make sure your kids are bundled up. Daniel, Kristen.
All right, Rob, thanks so much. Get back inside, get warm. And with all this cold weather, it is a really good reminder to make sure that your car's in good shape. Auto experts in Jeffersonville told us that these are the top things you need to have someone check on. How old is your battery? Can your car start in any temperature? How's the coolant? Do you have enough tire tread? And finally, are there any maintenance lights that you've been ignoring? If so, it is definitely time to get those checked on.
Some good advice. You don't want to get stuck on the roads in the cold weather. And we'll keep you updated here on air, but another way to stay updated on our latest weather conditions and how it may affect you is to download our free WHAS 11 app. You can get on the app to see what the weather is going to be like in your area and to see if your school may be closed or a delay. And as Rob said, JCPS is running on regular schedule this morning.
Something else we're following this morning, one person is dead and 2 others are in the hospital after a TARC van and another vehicle crashed. Louisville Metro Police think that someone might have been making a U-turn onto St. Andrew's Church Road and got hit by that TARC van. Both drivers went to the hospital, so did the woman riding in the passenger seat of that TARC van. Unfortunately, she didn't make it.
A woman has died after a crash in the PRP neighborhood. Police say the woman was driving on the Greenbelt Highway when she lost control of her vehicle. She ran off the road and her car rolled over several times. The driver, that woman, died at the scene. Her passenger was taken to the hospital. 5:08 this morning, and we're hearing from Attorney General-elect Daniel Cameron for the first time since his win. He talked about Governor Bevin's request for a recanvass, and Cameron says it was an appropriate request, but he's ready to work with whoever is in the governor's mansion. And if that person is Andy Beshear, Cameron says they get along well.
General Beshear, when I was in private practice, we were at the same law firm. One of the first attorneys to give me my work at our prior law firm. And so I'm ready to work with him. I have a good relationship with him.
Cameron says he's also good friends with Senator Mitch McConnell, who we also caught up with yesterday. The senator says that Governor Bevin had a good 4 years, but that recanvass probably won't change the results. We also talked to Senator McConnell about a different election, the Senate race of 2020, or, in other words, his re-election campaign. He says that his campaign wasn't behind that complaint filed against Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio that pulled him off the air while he decides whether or not to run.
The Democrats haven't had a primary yet. We'll see who the opponent is. We know which one has a lot of money.
You think Matt Jones should be allowed back on air during the process?
Look, I'm not going to get into the Democratic primary. I'll be happy to run against whoever wins the nomination.
And another possible addition to that race, Kentucky State Representative Charles Booker from Louisville. He just announced an exploratory committee looking into a possible campaign.
Former President Jimmy Carter is in the hospital this morning and will have a procedure done today. The Carter Center says he's been bleeding a lot because of his recent falls. So the procedure this morning will relieve pressure on his brain. The Carter Center says he's resting comfortably with his wife, Rosalind Carter. The time now is 5:09 this morning, and it's time to get into news by the numbers, starting with the number of canceled flights in Chicago.
And it is a lot. Yeah. Give or take about 1,200 flights got canceled at O'Hare. That part of the country saw between 2 and 6 inches of snow, and you see it on the ground right there. The flights that did make it out had to deal with delays. The average was about an hour and 20 minutes. A plane did come in from North Carolina and slid off the runway. Luckily, though, no one was hurt.
60. That's how many mini satellites SpaceX launched yesterday. It's the second batch of an orbiting network meant to provide high-speed internet everywhere, and it was the fourth flight of a booster for SpaceX. The satellites will join 60 launched in May. Elon Musk plans to start the internet service next year in the northern U.S. and Canada.
And 7, that's how many swimmers from the Lakeside Seahawks are signing with Division I skills with scholarships tomorrow. Tomorrow is signing day for all sports except for football, and the Lakeside Seahawks celebrated big yesterday. For these swimmers, it is a culmination of years of hard work going down on paper, but it's also continuing a really strong legacy at that school. We just want to say congrats to them.
And we're not the only ones dealing with this winter-like weather. How the rest of the country is dealing with chilly temperatures. Plus, we're sharing tips on how to protect yourself from frostbite and hypothermia. For now, let's check outside from our weather beast.